Have you ever wondered what the logs on Russian tanks are for? If you pay attention to details to both history and Blitz, you will find out that most of the Russian tanks are equipped with such a thing. There are several reasons for that, and I'm about to explain them all. The logs can be used for freeing a tank caught in a ditch, trench, or particularly a bog. If the tank drives into soft ground, the log or timber can be dropped off the back of the tank and the tank can reverse across the timber to solid ground. It's basically a clever way to get the tank out of an undesired position. But how does it work? The purpose of the log was simple: to help the tank climb out of mud where tracks don't have enough traction. The crew is needed for this to work. What the crew has to do is basically attach the log to the small holes there is in the tracks and simply hook up the log to the front of your tracks, drive forward slowly with the log serving as an anchor in the mud, then unhook it from the rear and move it to the front of the tank. Repeating the process until you're back on solid ground, and that's it, you're unstuck. Now, and another question you might ask is, why were the Russians using logs in the first place and not any military equipment? Short answer is money. It was way cheaper for the USSR during the Cold War to simply take out a log out of a forest and to carve it rather than spending thousands of dollars in research and equipment. On top of that, judging by the environment the Russian tank's crew is evolving, which is mostly composed of snow and wood, it's way easier in this scenario for the crew to find a log in the forest, carve it and then use it to unstuck a tank rather than taking the risk of using an equipment worth thousands that could break due to rust, snow or anything else. On top of that, judging by the environment the Russian tank's crew is evolving, which is mostly composed of snow and wood, it's way easier in this scenario for the crew to find a log in a forest, carve it and then use it to unstuck a tank rather than taking the risk of using an equipment worth thousands that could break due to the rust, the snow or anything else. But don't take any log for granted, as they had to conform to precise specifications in order to be used to unstuck a tank. The log had to be between 190mm to nearly 220mm thick and be nearly 3 meters long. A log that scratches past the side of the tank is explicitly prohibited. Clips to hold the log in place are also stored on the rear of the vehicle, whereas on older vehicles you could have to tie the log to the tracks with a tow cable. Multiple factors were taken into consideration to get those numbers. To cite a few, the weight of the tank, the terrain the log will be used on, but also the engine power. In reality, even if this tactic seems simple, it's still a hard one to put in practice. It's also less dangerous for the crew, as the equipment sometimes required for the crew to stay out of the tank to work, which implied being subject to die from a gunfire, artillery fire, or even taking a shell from an opponent tank. This tactic is still used nowadays by armies all over the world, as nothing can beat nature at unstucking tanks, even if it tends to become more and more useless due to technological advance. So in the end, even if these tactics seem to be quite primitive, it's actually a really clever one and allows the USSR not to waste any money on their tanks when it comes to unstucking them. And what about you guys? Do you think it's clever? Do you think it's primitive? Personally, I think it's one of the greatest moves the USSR pulled out when it comes to unstucking their tanks. And yeah, maybe if in the 21st century we don't need to do that anymore, even if still some countries are doing it, I feel like it was something interesting to see in battle and shows how adaptive the human intellect is. Hopefully you enjoyed, guys. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like and share, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new video. Bye.